back to Fantasy Hockey Picks and Bets right here on Mayo Media Network. I'm your host, Jake Hahn, taking a look at bets and DraftKings plays for Thursday, February 17th. We have 10 games on the card for Thursday, but before we get into it, remember to give the show a like and subscribe to Mayo Media Network as well. All right, let's get into this, and we kick things off with a great matchup on the East Coast. The Toronto Maple Leafs minus 150 favorites on home ice, with the Pittsburgh Penguins coming into town as plus 130 road underdogs. The over-under is set at 6.5 for this game. The Pens come into Toronto on a 4-game win streak and coming off of Sid Crosby's 500th goal on Tuesday. I know a lot of people out there had the Crosby goal prop. It just felt like it was the right time for it to cash. So if you're listening or watching and you had that Crosby goal prop, congrats on that. I think that one felt like sort of a community win in the NHL gambling community on Tuesday night. So happy to see Sid get 500. Unfortunately, my big Flyers money line play did not come through. Never trust the Flyers with a lead in the third period, 2-goal lead in the third period, not big enough for Philly to hang on. So Pittsburgh comes back and wins that game. They've actually owned the Leafs this season as well in 2 meetings, winning both with a combined score of 9-1. This is probably about as healthy as the Penguins have been in a long time as well. They always seem to have some key pieces missing. Right now, it's only Jason Zucker and Teddy Bluger from the regular lineup. So all the big boys are there for the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Leafs, on the other hand, return home after a 3-game road trip out west where they went 1-2. They finished with a 6-2 win in Seattle on Monday. So they bring a little bit of good vibes back to Toronto. They've been very good at home this season with or without fans in the building. 17-4-1 on home ice this season for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Interesting matchup here to watch in this game on Thursday, though, is the Leafs' first-ranked power play going up against the Pens' second-ranked penalty kill. So that one should be interesting if the Leafs get some power plays in this game. Which one wins out? Is it going to be that top power play unit for the Leafs, or will it be that Pens penalty kill unit? That's something I'll certainly be watching for on Thursday. In terms of a bet on this game, I think with the current line, I'd have to give a lean towards the Penguins at plus 130. It's not going to be an official play for me, but I do think that there's some value here with the Pens at plus money, especially because they've just owned this matchup recently. So maybe there's something there with this matchup for the Penguins that they just like facing the Leafs. Maybe they get up for a game like this. So I'm going to lean towards the Pens at plus 130, but not my favorite play on the card for Thursday. Next up, we've got the St. Louis Blues minus 265 favorites on the road in Montreal to take on the Habs, who are plus 210 home underdogs. The over-under is up at 6 for this game. The Blues continue a trip through Eastern Canada after beating the Sens 5-2 on Tuesday. They've won their last 2, scoring 10 goals total after a really disappointing loss coming out of the break against the New Jersey Devils. I don't know what happened there, but we have seen a lot of teams not exactly play great after that layoff and that first game. So I'm willing to give the Blues a pass for that game against the New Jersey Devils, and they look much better in the last 2. It seems like Ville Husso has officially stolen the net from Jordan Binnington. I'm not sure if he starts this game, or maybe Craig Berube actually gives Binnington this start to get his confidence back up a little bit. It's an easier game for St. Louis. I don't know how he's going to play it, but it looks like it's Ville Husso's net right now for the foreseeable future for the Blues. The Habs, on the other hand, they remain terrible, even after the coaching change, but they have shown some slight improvements. So I'll give them some credit there. Instead of losing by 5 or 6, they're only losing by 1 or 2 now. So it's baby steps. Maybe before we know it, they'll actually be winning some hockey games. 10-game losing streak coming into this one, and they've given up at least 5 goals in 7 of their last 8 games. So they are giving up a ton right now. Special teams is a complete disaster, and St. Louis has the 2nd-ranked power play and the 5th-ranked penalty kill. So huge mismatch when it comes to special teams in this game. I love the Blues. I'm just going to continue to fade the Habs. I mean, eventually they're going to get a win for Martin St. Louis. That's obviously going to come at some point, but I just think the Blues are clearly a better team, and you can still get some plus money for them on the puck line. It's basically even money, minus 1.5 for the Blues to go into Montreal, win by a couple goals. If you want to take the Blues in regulation, I don't mind that as well. If you want to throw them in some parlays with maybe a couple of other favorites we're going to get to a little bit later here, I don't mind that either, but I do like St. Louis to win this game on Thursday night. Next up, we've got the Ottawa Senators in Buffalo to take on the Sabres. The Sabres are slight favorites in this game, -125 on home ice. Ottawa's +105 on the road here. The over-under is at 6. The Sens are starting to get really banged up, and it's showing in the results. This is a team I've mentioned before that I'm targeting in the second half to maybe grab some good dog prices on. They've lost 3 of their last 4, but they've all been to playoff caliber teams. So they're facing some quality competition in these losses. Thomas Chabot has joined Josh Norris and Drake Batherson on the injured reserve for Ottawa. And Matt Murray, who'd been red hot in net for Ottawa, left Tuesday's game. So we could be seeing the backup because apparently Anton Forsberg is also banged up, and Philip Gustafsson has been called up from the American Hockey League, who we saw a little bit early in the season. So the depth at the goaltending position is getting tested for the Sens. Thomas Chabot, a guy who plays high 20s in terms of minutes every single night, he's out now. It's becoming more difficult to back this team with the current roster that they're icing and putting forward. The Sabres too have actually been quite good. They've won 2 in a row and they have points in their last 3 games. The offense is exploding out of nowhere. 14 goals over the last 3 games for Buffalo. Alex Tuch has been amazing and is shooting the puck a ton. He's been great for shot props lately. Jeff Skinner, Tage Thompson, Kyle Opozo, Victor Olofsson, all of these guys seem to have something going right now. And I think Buffalo has a lot more going on than we give them credit for. This isn't a game I'm going to be betting any big money on, but I do lean towards the Sabres here. I just like the way that they're playing. I don't want to lay -125 with the Sabres, but Ottawa banged up, Buffalo playing well, the offense clicking. I do think that Buffalo finds a way to win this game on Thursday night. Next up, we've got the Washington Capitals in Philly to take on the Flyers, the same Flyers that burned me a couple nights ago at a big dog price. We can get them at a pretty big dog price on Thursday as well, +165. Home dogs. Washington comes in at -195 on the money line. The over-under is up at 6 for this game. The Caps have been playing some below-average hockey now for a while, but they did bounce back with a nice 4-1 win in Nashville on Tuesday. Never an easy place to go win a game. They've actually been much better on the road this season as well, 15-5-4 on the road, which is not usually the case for the Caps, who've perennially been a really good home team. The Flyers are banged up. They've got a ton of guys out of the lineup, and they come in on a 3-game losing streak where they've given up 15 total goals over those 3 games. They held a 4-2 lead, like I mentioned earlier, in the third period against Pittsburgh on Tuesday, could not close it out. The offense has been okay lately. We've seen them score a little bit, but they are just a complete disaster in their own end, and you're just waiting for goals to go in. So I think that this is a spot for Washington to maybe get right a little bit, start to string some wins together after a win the other night. Caps -1.5 at +130 will be my play on Thursday night here. I think the Caps can go into Philly and take advantage of just a depleted team and a team that's no good in their own end. Next up, we've got an original 6 matchup here. The New York Rangers, -210 favorites on home ice. The Detroit Red Wings coming in at +170 on the money line. On the road, the over-under is set at 6 for this game. The Wings have had a couple days to recover after the Wild put up a 7 spot against them on Monday. So they should be pretty well rested here. The offense has actually been pretty good lately, 17 goals in their last 4 games. The road, however, has not been kind to them this season. They haven't been good away from Detroit, just 7 wins in 23 road games this season. The Rangers, on the other hand, have a 3-game win streak, but it goes back before the All-Star break. They played their first game out of the break on Tuesday, and they started really slow. They looked like they hadn't played in a long time. I think they only had 2 shots in the first period of that game, but they found a way to beat Boston still 2-1 in a shootout. And that's kind of been the story of the season for the Rangers, is just finding ways to win games. They don't always look the best, but they still find a way to get the 2 points at the end of the game. They've been really difficult to beat at MSG this year as well, 16-4-2 on home ice for the Rangers here. I don't see a ton of value in the Rangers on the money line up at -210. I think you can make a case actually for Detroit to go in and win this game at +170. I'd much prefer to take the under 6 here, though, and it's asterisk beside it in case Igor Shesterkin starts or doesn't start. I'm going to assume he starts this game. And if he does, I think under 6 is a solid play, because Detroit, although the offense is up recently, generally struggles to score, and Igor just doesn't like to give up much. I could see the Rangers scoring a couple goals, winning this game like 3-1, 4-1, something in that range. So assuming Igor Shesterkin gets the call on Thursday, I'd roll with the under 6 in the Rangers and Red Wings game. Next up, we got another game that I think will probably be low scoring. The New York Islanders, -125 favorites on home ice. The Boston Bruins, +105 dogs on the road. The over-under is at 5.5 for this game. Boston is having major trouble scoring scoring, which shouldn't be a surprise with Marchand and Bergeron out of the lineup. They've managed a 1-1-1 record in the 3 games without them. So they'd actually take that, but they've only scored 3 goals total in those 3 games. The good news is there is a chance that Bergeron plays this game. He's practicing. It looks like he's getting ready. Looks like he's nearing a return. So assume that Bergeron should be back in the lineup for this game. Marchand will still be serving his suspension. The Isles return home after an unsuccessful 4-game road trip that saw them go 1-3 and lose their last 3 games, including giving up 6 goals to Buffalo on Tuesday. They've been an average to below average defensive team this season to go along with a really, really anemic offense. So they can't score, and they don't have that sort of Islanders style where they can lock it down and be one of those top defensive units. They've been very average defensively this year. All that being said, I do like the under here. You got to pay a little juice at the under 5.5, but with Boston struggles to score, I don't think the Islanders are really the remedy for that. I do think that they can still play that defensive style and lock down the Boston Bruins. And I just don't see the Islanders scoring much either. So this feels like a boring, low scoring type under 5.5 game on Thursday night. Next up, we got the Seattle Kraken plus 165 dogs on the road in Winnipeg to take on the Jets, who are minus 200 favorites on home ice. The over-under is way up at 6.5 for this game. The Kraken start a 3-game road trip in Winnipeg on Thursday night. They don't have much going for them this season, but they actually are first in the league at suppressing shots on goal. But on the flip side, they're 31st in terms of generating shots on goal. So they're not giving up a lot, but they're also not generating a lot. Usually leads to some low event Seattle Kraken hockey games. The Jets, on the other hand, will be playing the second half of a home back-to-back as they host the Wild on Wednesday night. So I don't mind these spots. You play at home a couple nights in a row. I don't think that should really be an issue for the Jets. They came out of the break nice with a 5 of a possible 6 points from Minnesota, Dallas, and Nashville, only to give it back with a home loss against the Blackhawks. So this is a really tough team to figure out, really tough team to trust this season. And at minus 200, I don't think there's a ton of value with the Jets on Thursday night, but I do like the under 6.5. Seattle struggles to score, struggles to generate, like I mentioned. I do think that Winnipeg can play that boring style. We've seen them do that quite a bit recently, actually. So under 6.5, I just think that that's too high right now. I think that's at least a half a goal too high. This should be closer to 6, the total for this game. So I'm going to play the under 6.5 between the Kraken and the Jets on Thursday night. Next up, we've got the Columbus Blue Jackets plus 130 dogs on the road in Chicago to take on the Blackhawks, who are minus 150 home favorites. The over-under is at 6 for this game. This will be the end of a 5-game road trip out of the All-Star break for the Jackets. So they've actually been busy since the break. They're 3-1 so far, and their only loss was to Calgary on Tuesday, who's just smashing everybody right now. The offense has been improved lately, but they still have a lot of issues defensively. Chicago returns home after a 3-game road trip where they went 2-1. They beat the Oilers and the Jets, and they lost to the Blues. So not bad results for the Blackhawks there. They've really struggled at home this season, though. 8-11-3 in Chicago. That's not going to get it done. This is not a game I'm rushing to bet, but I think if I had to play a side again, it would just be a blind play on the plus money, just like the Pittsburgh-Toronto game, plus 130 with the Jackets. If I had to play it, that would probably be it. Next up, we got the Anaheim Ducks plus 185 dogs on the road in Edmonton to take on the Oilers, who are minus 230 home favorites. The over-under is up at 6.5 for this one. Anaheim will be playing the second half of a road back-to-back as they're in Calgary on Wednesday night. Before that, they had only played 1 game in their last 16 days. 4-3 loss to Seattle last Friday. So a choppy schedule for the Ducks, but they are looking almost fully healthy now. Just Josh Manson on the injury reserve. The Oilers have actually turned things around recently. 3-game win streak. They took both games in San Jose and LA on Monday and Tuesday, and both of those teams were coming off a long layoffs, and the Oilers took advantage. I think this is once again a good spot for the Oilers to take advantage with the Ducks playing in Calgary on Wednesday night. So not a ton of value with minus 230, but I do think the Oilers find a way to get this thing done and keep rolling on Thursday. Last game on the card, we've got the Vancouver Canucks and the San Jose Sharks. Basically a pick 'em, minus 110 for both sides here in San Jose. The over-under is set at 5.5. 5.5. The Canucks are 2-1 since the All-Star break, most recently beating the Leafs 3-2 on Saturday. Thatcher Demko stole that game for them, and he's capable of doing that basically anytime he goes out there. Quinn Hughes is currently still in COVID protocol. The Sharks, on the other hand, have actually lost 4 in a row now. They're going the wrong way, and with a lot of other teams making moves in the Pacific Division, that is not good. That losing streak goes back before the All-Star break. They've only played one game in their last 16 days, and it was a 3-0 shutout loss to the Oilers on Monday. Erik Karlsson remains on the injured reserve, so look for Brent Burns to play big minutes and get a lot of usage in this game as well. I think I'd lean towards the Sharks money line here. Pick 'em price, take the home team. They've got a game under their belt now after the break. Sharks -110 seems like the way that I would play this one. As for DraftKings on Thursday night, if you look at it from an overall perspective, there's a lot of studs that you can start your lineups with on Thursday. So I think that's probably the first decision you have to make. You got Matthews, McDavid, Ovechkin, Pastrnak, Draisaitl, Crosby, all on the slate. I think I would avoid Pastrnak in what I think should be a low-scoring game against the Islanders. I'd look towards the 2 Oilers and Alex Ovechkin to start your lineup. Those are my favorites of the top guys. St. Louis Blues should score a ton in that game against Montreal. Deep team, and it's hard to predict where it will come from on a nightly basis, but I do like Jordan Kyrou, Pavel Buchnevich, Braden Shen, Robert Thomas. I think those are all good options, and they're all sub $5,000 on Thursday. Ottawa, Buffalo, the Sabres have actually been scoring a lot, and the Sens now have goaltending issues, as we talked about earlier. Alex Tuch, Jeff Skinner, Rasmus Dahlin, I think are all affordable options. And I had to quickly mention in the Detroit Rangers game, just the price for Artemi Panarin always weirds me out. He has been inconsistent, but the fact he's priced below Tyler Bertuzzi is just weird to me. So $5,900 for Artemi Panarin in that game, I don't mind that at all. Washington, Philly, I already mentioned Ovechkin as a good play at the top. Maybe like Tom Wilson, $3,800 is a value play. I could see Washington scoring quite a bit against the Flyers. The Jackets and the Blackhawks, there's some value in this one as well. You could look to a couple of top liners, Patrick Laine, Oliver Bjorkstrand, both affordable, worth a look in my opinion. And I really like Alex DeBrincat at $4,900, sub $5,000 for DeBrincat. And Columbus does like to give up a lot of chances. And in the Anaheim-Edmonton game, if you are looking for some value, if you want to do an Oilers stack, Hyman and Puljujarvi look to be locked into the wings of Connor McDavid after the coaching change, and they're both $4,300 and $4,200 respectively. That's going to be it for me today. You can find me on Twitter at jhahn4. And as always, good luck with your bets and your lineups, and I'll catch you all next week.